Hello, good evening, and welcome.
Hello.
It's that time of the week again where we catch up on our super chats that we weren't able to do on the night, and it seems like the right time to do it. I've got a drink handy and I'm ready to talk. How about you, Molly?
I got some water here somewhere, and I can talk, so that's close enough.
I mean, water is a liquid. I would define it as a drink. It's a lie.
Fine.
It's big water propaganda. They want you to
Yeah,
believe that.
Apparently we need it to like live or something. I don't know. That sounds like
Yeah, I mean, Mark Zuckerberg taught me that during that Senate
Mhm.
hearing. Humans like water, but I don't quite believe it yet.
Human. What?
Yeah. But, well, we have a bunch of super chats that people sent to us on the night, so I think we should dive right in and see if we can get through them.
All right then.
The first one here is from one of my own mods, Josh, who says, "Hail guys, let's hear your best impression of Boss Nasty's head shake noise." Okay, should we go at the same time or do it separate? I think we should do it. I think we should count it down.
Noise, but yeah, count it
do
down.
it at the same time. Right, 3, 2, 1. There we go. Truly the most intellectual of live streams that we're doing tonight.
It was important that we nailed that, and I think we did.
I think we give it a good shot, yeah. He says, also, when is Rogue Element releasing? A lot of peeps and me can't wait to see it. Well, excellent. It's almost done, actually. We're doing the final little bits of sound balancing and some of the VFX that we have to put in. It's just those last little editorial things that we have to get sorted, so it's pretty much there. We did a live stream with our Patreon backers and our Kickstarter backers last week, and we showed them a completed scene from the film that had been all color graded and everything, and they seem to rather enjoy it, so that's a good start. Anyway, but that's what we got for now. Peace or Utter Destruction says, now that Muller is officially a Trekkie, Kirk, McCoy, or Spock? Pick one.
Oof. So with the episodes I've been watching, whenever they have like a mission, and most commonly Kirk will go down, and then second most commonly is Kirk and McCoy, and then third most commonly is Kirk, McCoy, and Spock. And every time something's happening, and they're like, "All right, we're beaming down," and Spock stays on the bridge, I'm like, "No, like, I want him to go with you." And the friend I was watching it with was like, "Oh, is he like your favorite then?" And I was like, "It's not even quite that. It's I love the banter that you get for Spock and Kirk the most. So any situation having them both there rather than just one of them, like if Spock went down and Kirk didn't, I'd be like, hey." But they're never going to do that. I think he's usually going down all the time. There's been a few episodes where Kirk will arrive at a planet and be like, "We have things for you, like supplies, whatever." And then the planet people will be like, "Yes, yes, yes, yes. Come down, Captain, but come alone." And he's like, "Okay."
Sounds good to me.
Like, no, Kirk, it's a trap. What's really funny is when he beams down with two guys in the red shirts. You're like, uh-oh.
Oh, yeah, the classic red shirt thing, yeah.
It's so fun. But
great that became a meme.
I think favorite character would probably be Kirk, but it's a little bit unfair because he's obviously gotten the most screen time and the most like interactions that are interesting. But I love the dynamic. What's funny is what I was pointing out with the films is very much a problem in the show. More so, I would say. There's barely any time for anyone else, but that's obviously the intention. It's like those three are the focus in the show so far.
Yeah,
14 episodes in though.
Yeah, Chekhov, I think, didn't even join the show until much
later.
He's
still not there. Well, what's crazy is that you see Scotty in the first handful of episodes, but he's been gone now for like 5 in a row. I've been like, where the fuck is he?
Like, I suppose, he's just the engineer, so he's only got certain things that he's going to be relevant for. But yeah,
it's just he's probably got the most dramatic change in terms of young James Doohan versus new. Young and old,
there's a lot more of Scotty in the movies. I'll say that.
Yes, but he's precious, darn it, and I like seeing him run around saying engineer things.
Yeah, like he does sound very efficient and everything, and I think Sulu as well. Like George Takei was busy filming The Green Berets with John Wayne at one point, and so he was only like a bit player in one of the seasons because he wasn't available that much. So it's kind of interesting. Like, I guess back then you could just go off and do other things, and they would just write around you. I don't
Yeah.
imagine you get away with that now. You'd be scheduled in for a full season, and you just have to do it.
Well, and you get a lot of, at least from what I remember of other shows, like if someone says like I've got an opportunity, they're like, okay, bye forever. Like,
Yeah.
all right.
But yeah, it must be interesting comparing the Kirk that you've come to know from the movies with the much younger version that you see here.
I'm quite fond of him, and this was brought up on the Ultimate Showdown stream that it was actually said this felt weird, honestly. Az was here to clear it up, but I felt the exact same way. It was said that Kirk versus Picard is the impetuous sort of action man who will just sort of brashly make a blah 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 decision, and even I was like, that's not true. That's just not
Exactly.
true at all.
It pisses me off. I think people just see it as like an easy narrative to fall back on. Like
Yeah.
Picard is the more mature, sensible, studious, diplomatic captain, and Kirk is like the hotshot cowboy who just shoots first and asks questions later. And that's not who he is at all. But it's just like became a thing that stuck with him. And
What's cool as well is, as said, despite the fact that he prefers Picard, he thinks that Kirk would win in a Enterprise versus Enterprise, like same technology, two captains pitted against each other. He thinks Kirk would win.
Yeah, I think Kirk's probably a bit more creative and inventive than Picard might be.
It was interesting for me because obviously I haven't seen much of Picard yet, but I assumed it would be Picard because he had like a better understanding of the intellectual battle. But Kirk represents a lot of what needs to be. I don't know how to put this. Like, it's not just like the knowledge of what your ship can do. It's like reading the battle itself. I don't know if you've heard of season 1 has I think it's The Balance of Terror. That's probably
Yeah, I
one
know
I'd
that one.
recommend you check out if you hadn't.
Oh yeah, I'm very familiar with that one. It's actually based on, I think, The Enemy Below, the old war movie with Kurt Jurgens and I can't remember the other actor. But yeah, it's the same principle. Like the Romulan ship is just a U-boat, and the Enterprise is like the destroyer that's trying to depth charge it, essentially, because it can go invisible.
Yeah, and it's really fascinating to watch both captains' decisions and then both captains attempt to preempt the other and being impressed with each other's moves and trying to read each other and stuff. And that's just, that episode is probably one of the most perfect ones to show you what Kirk, like who Kirk is as a captain, I would say, at least in the nature of a war that he fights with the Enterprise. Because I think a lot of people might be like, this is boring. And I'd be like, nah. It's like you get a really strong understanding of the characters. And it's really cool because they're so fucking old. And yeah, I was quite impressed with that episode. There's a reason why it's one of the best.
There's a good one that will give you an insight into Kirk on a personal level called City on the Edge of Forever, which I think you'll appreciate as well.
I think some people have mentioned that in super chats. They're looking forward to me being able to comment on it, I suppose. But yes, I feel like I'm gradually becoming much more familiar in a way that I can even correct information. How about that?
Whoa, check you out.
Crazy.
You absolute Trekkie. All right. Metal Face Rosie says the third Pokemon movie is unironically good. I will take your word for that since
Fair
I'm not
enough.
a Pokemon expert. Master of Puppets says, just rewatched Arcane. Who's your favorite 3 characters? Mine are Victor, Silco, and Jinx. And good to see some Kiwi representation on the bar. Hello, Az. Hey, nice. Yeah, favorite 3 characters from.
Unfortunately, if I'm not correct, like I'm pretty sure that is my favorite 3. What they just had.
It was a good choice, yeah. Silco for sure.
Silco's
I would probably
great, yeah.
I would probably maybe swap Victor out for Vi.
That's fair. I am particularly biased toward Victor because of where he is in the game. I cannot fucking wait to see them take him there. Are you aware of anything about that?
I know precisely fuck all about the game, so yeah. I don't
Well,
know what they're gonna
he's
do.
my main in the game. He's really fucking cool, and let's just say when he said his name was Victor in the show, I was like, wait, what? And as you know, by the time you hit the end of the season, he is changing. He's not quite, and it's very, very, very. It's such a weird feeling. It's something I kind of want to talk about. This very unique form of investment where you're aware of a different continuity's approach with a particular character, and this is an entirely new continuity, but you know vaguely where they're heading, and so you're like super invested in where it might end up.
You've literally just described my experience of playing Final Fantasy Rebirth. Like, it's literally that. It's like, I know where the characters are going to end up, and I know some of them are going to die, and I really don't want that to happen again. And I know there's a possibility for it to change, but then I don't know if it will. So, yeah, same deal, I suppose.
Yeah, fair.
But yeah, it is a very unique experience playing that. It's like you're trying to, I don't know, it's the inevitability of it, I suppose, that I don't quite like. But anyway,
no shade to Jace though; he's quite cool as well.
Jace is okay. Yeah, I'd like to see him have a bit more of a hard edge to him, maybe, because he can come across maybe as a little bit sappy at times. It's like I want a bit more from him there. I think he needs to toughen up a bit now.
I mean, we saw him get toughened somewhat through the season, right? Because like the whole reason, he's pissed off. He attacks the settlement foundry, whatever it is, with Vi, and then kills a kid. So kids.
There is that. Legion Cataphract says, "Hello, drinker. Thank you for your work. And have you heard of Grums being doxxed? It's terrible and completely insane. Is that a thing that happened? Is someone doxxed Grums? That really fucking sucks in that case."
Yeah, I mean, obviously that sucks if true, but I don't know anything about it.
Easy E says, "Az lost enough weight to look like a guy Mauler and Drinker found to pretend to be Az with an hour's notice. Well done, sir. Keep it up. You look great." He definitely does. Yeah, he's doing amazing.
Yeah.
Aaron Wilson says, "Hello, Open Bar. Gundam, what's your thoughts on the Seed Freedom film and Hathaway? Also suggest a Gundam for the panel to watch. Hail." Oh, he's not here to recommend a Gundam for us. And I can't even throw anything into the mix there because I know absolutely nothing about the Gundam universe. They look cool.
What the best Gundam is?
I think so, yeah.
Well, let's I don't know if we can type it into Google, see if there's an answer.
What is the best Gundam?
All right, number 1 is the Zeta Gundam. It doesn't have a description of why.
Okay. It's like, if you know, then you know, I suppose. Well, I guess we'll go with that one.
Yeah, there you go. That's the cool one. It's the best one.
Blabs the Tower Tard says, "Being Scottish is crap. Train Spotting 1996. Yep, it was true then and it's true now." Marksman says, "Drinker, want to smoke weed and play Burnout?" Absolutely. Anytime. Salacious Thumb says, "Mauler and Drinker, what do you look for in characters and why? You said you loved Zorro and Otto Hightower, and I like them, but I don't find them fascinating."
Fascinating. Like what makes a character fascinating to us, I guess, is the question in a way.
I don't know if I need to find them fascinating. I just need to find them likable.
Well, but what does make a character fascinating to you? I don't know if that's what they question.
Yeah, and this is where you get into like, there's no hard and fast rules. I can't say like, if a character has X, Y, and Z personality traits, then I'm guaranteed to love them. Like, it's going to come down to the context of it, the details of their life, their personality, their backstory, and so on. Yeah. And then the implementation as well. Like, some of it might come down to how well they're portrayed by an actor or a voice actor or whatever it might be. So all of those things are dependent on context. So I can't really give you a set of rules that you follow to make a good character.
One of the things that'll really intrigue me about a character is when they're set as, like, layer 1 is a very clear and strong thing, but they will continuously do something that seems completely at odds with that layer, but there's like a dimension to them that's really important that you can kind of understand through maybe a couple of events or interactions that makes all of that make perfect sense. Like, it's always fun to me when you have multi-layers that make them behave in ways that seem contradictory, but when you scratch the surface, it's like, oh shit, right, that makes sense. And it could be that they are hypocritical, but it's because of a heavy bias they have in favor of a particular thing or a person or whatever. It's indicative of like a human weakness that I always enjoy because it's, I don't know, realistic, I guess, but that is not an invitation to just have your character do fucking anything at any time and just be like, hey, well, you know, he's human, I don't know. I remember that for Kylo Ren, people being like, he's like the best representation of a human person because you just don't know what he's going to do next.
Yeah, it's like, it doesn't mean you can just tear up the rulebook for like human behavior.
A good example of that actually might be that, you know, Silco, like his big condemnation of Vander was how he was like a terrible leader for Zorn because he put like other things before it, right? And then by the end of the show, he's put in the exact same situation, and
Yep.
he's brought really low because of it. Like he just can't believe it after all this time, and it's just like that shit's so much in like because I think the show make it a point there about there's a lot of father daughter stuff in that show that's really really good.
Yeah. He says it himself. Like, is there anything more undoing than a daughter?
Mm-hmm.
It's a great line. It's delivered with such like anguish as well. It's brilliant. Metal Face Rosie says, best comedy sketch show. The whitest kids you know is the correct answer. R.I.P. Trevor Moore. So, okay. Comedy sketch. So, any ones that were particularly good back in the day. I always used to quite like Hale and Pace. I don't even know if that was a thing for you, if you even remember Hale and Pace, but they had a
Nope.
pretty good sketch show.
Well, what's funny, you say remember, like I think I just didn't come across them because I know Laurel and Hardy as a group, right? But like I've never heard of the one you just mentioned.
Really? I was like, it was probably the 90s that they were around. But just, yeah, same deal. It's like various sketches that they would do, a bunch of different characters. And yeah, they were actually pretty funny. I quite like them.
Mitchell and Webb were ones that I watched the shit out of. And then, of course, a bit of Fry and Laurie as well.
They were always quite good, yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Dan DeSeal says, thinking about this for a while, but the hero's journey is a guy going through trials and coming out the end. But today, the heroine's journey is that she was always perfect, but people were holding her back. Agree or not? It's not always like that, I think, but it's the lazy way that Hollywood often takes these days.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate pattern we noticed in Captain Marvel, certainly in MOM. There's, I think, WandaVision, you could argue it. Like, these are all women that go on journeys that by the end they're just told, by the way, you were way more powerful than you even realized.
Yeah, Rey was kind of like that. Well, nobody had anything to teach her. She just had all the power and all the knowledge inside.
In retrospect, Rise of Skywalker is so fucking funny when it like opens with, "Look, she's training. Look, she's training. She's been training. Look, she's training." And you're like, okay. And then you're like, look, they're on adventures. Look, the three of them, they have lots of they're friends now. They've come so far. You're like, all right, okay.
We're doing the work of 3 films in the first like 20 minutes of this one. Like,
it's transparent as far as I'm concerned. It's such a fucking mess, but it tells a really funny story. Like watching that trilogy, the only real benefit is to just see what decisions got made and why, and just look at it purely from like a historical point of view of like what happened to this franchise.
Oh, it's a fantastic case study. It'll be poured over for decades as one of the biggest disasters in entertainment. Aki says the game was probably more expensive than Yasuke back then. Oh yeah. Depot 101 says, ahoy panel and chat. Ubisoft's self-immolation is making the Warcraft movie a divine miracle. What is everyone's favorite real-time strategy game? Mine is Warcraft 3. So real-time strategy. I'm gonna have to go way back and say like StarCraft or like the Red Alert series. I don't play a whole lot of real-time strategy these days. I did like the Total War series actually. And Napoleon Total War was great fun.
Yeah. I think the number one for me would probably have been Age of Empires 1 and 2. And then a couple of splatterings of... Wait, does Civilization count? It does, right?
Real-time. I mean, that's turn-based rather than real-time, so...
In that case, do you remember there was like a Lord of the Rings... Was it Total War? What was the Lord of the Rings?
No, I don't think Total War did
strategy. I forget which one it was, but I played a bit of that as well. Empire at War was the Star Wars RTS, wasn't it?
Was that any good?
I remember liking it. There's a unit in it called a Mauler.
Well, that's perfect.
I was going to say it has to be like a 9 out of 10 at least at that point.
Oh yeah. Did you ever play Zed?
Is that the Pixely game?
Yeah, it's made by the Bitmap brothers.
I think it did.
I remember that being one of the most frustratingly difficult RTS games I think I'd ever played. Like, because not only like it's like if the balance shifts slightly against you early on, it's literally impossible to win. Like the enemy will then just steamroller you with just like superior resources, and your own fucking units yell abuse at you as you're losing. It's so unbelievably annoying.
You've reminded me of how when I was playing Age of Empires as a super youngin, I'd be like on normal difficulty, whatever, enjoying my little, my guys building their little houses, everything's fun. And then in come a fucking army and just kill everything from the AI opponent I had set to be on the other side of the map. So then I'd like go on easy mode, make islands, and then like handicaps. There's a giant steel wall around their little island, and then I just torment them and be like, "It's not fun, is it? Whatever you
Like,
build, I'll destroy."
just like some kind of malicious god, just messing with them.
If the devs could see me, they'd be like, like they're just bots, man. They don't feel it.
Yeah, we need to put you on a list. Jeff Romadix says, "Get shat on, Ubisoft." Fair dues. Cole Hauser says, "Hail Drinker, Mauler, Az, and Gundam. Drinker, the only reason Christian Slater got into Star Trek 6 is because his mom was a casting director." Really? I thought
well, no, you were right though. What you said was he did it because he was a fan. She got him in because he was a fan.
I would have thought as well, like early 90s, Christian Slater was probably kind of a big name. And if you wanted to be in your Star Trek movie, you'd probably just find a way to get him in.
I think because I had read that what they were saying as well, but when you said it, I was like, well, that's essentially the story too. Like, it is both the fact that he wanted to be there and that she was able to facilitate it better than I guess most people would have. But it could be that it was also the fact that he was Christian Slater. But I mean, it was a tiny role, so I don't get mad.
Yeah. Depot says, "Have $2 because I normally can't super." Thank you. Ex-Catalister says, "Any chance you all can reach out to Rikita? He doesn't look well and honestly looks like he needs an intervention." Oh, how things have changed since that was posted on Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got a lot to deal with right now, and I don't know that we can. I'm not sure there's anything I could like. Obviously, I'd be willing to help if he needs it, but I assume right now he's figuring everything out. In terms of what he's doing
for a
next.
couple of guys on the internet on the other side of like the Atlantic Ocean, I think he needs like friends and family around him who can help him more than we can. But I wish him all the best. I hope he turns things around. Cole Hauser says, "Hey, I like watermelon and fried chicken. Good. Okay, keep it
All
up,
right.
I guess." David Lamplow, "Ghost of Tsushima came out on PC recently, a game that is everything Ubisoft wish it was, with authentic Japanese characters that people love. That was a good game. I liked Ghost of Tsushima." Sentinel Rex says, "There's going to be so many vids of a certain samurai of color harming Japanese people. This game is a cell phone no matter how you look at it." I'm afraid so. Play stupid games, you get stupid prizes, I suppose. James Moore says, "It's not like there was a recent show specifically set in Japan and how it was intentionally locked off from the rest of the world." Shogun. Yep, very true. Yeah, that was I think Shogun then leads into that period of isolation because it wasn't locked away yet. But I don't know if those eras overlap. Yasuke would have been during that period of a couple hundred years when Japan was just like closed to the outside world. I presume not, because they just wouldn't have let him in the first place, would they?
I'm not sure.
This is Kyle. Says, "I half expect Ubisoft to have Yusuke create a new game and to call it Basket Baru. Also, they could have made Yusuke a cameo like Da Vinci in AC2. Sorry, Assassin's Creed 2. I mean, they could have done a whole bunch of things that probably would have played out a lot better than this." Peter Garombe says, "A morbid thing to consider about Yasuke is that we don't know what he thought about his experience in Japan. For all we know, he could have hated being in Japan and how he was treated as a curiosity." That, again, is also completely valid.
I have not read up about the history at all.
Sal Mark says, "Reviewers really undersold The Fall Guy. It's a 90s action film with a high budget. We complain about wokeness, but don't support good movies." I mean, yeah, Hollywood's in a strange place right now. Movies that are ostensibly quite good, or at least, solid little crowd pleasers, are just falling by the wayside. We're not entirely sure what's causing it. Could be high ticket prices. It could be like the access to streaming and how quickly it comes out. Could be a just general malaise around movies right now. Not sure, but it's not a good place. I'd just be so despondent if I was releasing a movie this year.
Yeah.
Like, there's practically no chance this is going to make any money. Snex says the way he leaps off rooftops and flips forward before falling into a stack of hay is just full of the exaggerated swagger of a black samurai. I know where you're going with that. Liam Hemmings says, I don't get why Sydney's boobs are bad, but a bloke with fake ones are social progress. That's the mystery. Roman Kotas says, Ancient Egypt versus Nubian Assassin's Creed. That would have been good. I would have played that game. The Oppo says, anti-imperialist Assassin's Creed as Zulus wouldn't work anyway. They were an empire themselves and had conquered their way down Africa. Awkward. Yeah, history's got a funny habit of being complicated. Keith Ringer. I said in a previous super chat that Brandon Sanderson was trying to get his hugely popular books into shows and movies, but Hollywood's blocking him, and you guys asked why. He wants creative control, and Hollywood hates that. Yeah. I can 100% believe that. Because the last thing they want when they're trying to make a TV show or whatever is the author constantly poking his beacon and saying, no, you have to change it and do it this way because I say so. Yeah, and ultimately when they're the people fronting up the money to do it, they're going to want to do it their way. It's just the nature of the beast, unfortunately. Liam Hemmings. Melvin Bragg once pointed out that the poor in the north of England never had freedom. They had poor houses. Their skin was dyed like sheep per each factory. Peterloo Massacre, they were never liberated. I don't know too much about that one, but okay. Legomi Bacon says, amazing digital circus. It's funny, existential, good characters, a female lead that isn't a girl boss, and an indie production that's free on YouTube. Thank you to the bar. Cheers. Thank you, man. Cheers. Thanks for the recommendation. Don Mack says, which obscure or underrated horror movie do you recommend seeing?
Name. Any particular restrictions other than just
I suppose ideally something that most people won't have heard of, maybe something that you stumbled across, whatever. I could say mine would probably be Deathline, which is set in the London Underground, and it's like a family of cannibals that have got sealed away down there, and now they prowl the underground, preying on people. It's super low budget horror movie from like the 70s, but it's also got Christopher Lee in it making a random cameo for no other reason than because he was on set that day, and Donald Pleasance was in it, and they just wanted to work together, so they improvised a scene with the two of them. It's great.
It's like, I remember this got mentioned by you at some other point. Was it Mind the Gap is like a thing they say in it or something?
Yeah, because that's like these cannibals, like I guess because they've been inbreeding for generations, like they've kind of devolved to the point where that's like the only thing they're capable of saying now. So again, it's quite creepy, quite effective.
One that's probably been heard of, but I don't know how many people actually ended up seeing it. I think Gary liked it as well. As I don't know if you've seen it yet, Drinker, but Late Night with the Devil.
Not yet. No.
Quite a fun one, and I think it had $1.5 million budget. Had like fucking 12 production companies supporting it.
Yeah,
it's funny, but the film itself was really neat. I enjoyed it, and it might be the kind of film that could scare you. Not 100% sure if it will. With me, it's not very often that horror films scare me, or horror content, and I am desperately searching for ones that do. There's only like been 5, I think, in total. But like, just nothing crazy. Like Paranormal Activity was closer to scaring me than most films were. I think I went over this before, but like a lot of gore stuff doesn't scare me, and jump scares piss me off. Like if a film is filled with them, which a lot of the Insidious and that whole the Insidious verse, whatever it's called, where the Annabelle and all those fuckers, like where there's lots of the demon's screaming at you and running at you, oh gosh, and it's in the darkness, oh boy, it's gonna get you, like all that. I'm just like,
yeah.
I much prefer it when they rely on imagination and suggestion, psychology. It's getting late. Okay.
Yeah, it is. Have you ever actually been gotten by a jump scare? Has one ever like really startled you and you're like, oh shit, that was a good one?
So, I was going to say the better question is, have I ever been hit by a jump scare that I thought was well done? And the best jump scare of all time, and it's unbeatable as far as I'm concerned for movies. Games are a different thing. belongs to Neil Marshall's The Descent. That jump scare is like my favorite jump scare in all of films. It's fucking amazing.
Is it with
So well,
the handheld camera bit?
yeah, it's so well placed because one of the big things for jump scares with me is that a lot of the time they are the director to the viewer directly, which I'm not a huge fan of when it's just like he's shaking you or she, whatever. What I way prefer is when you're in the mind and the experience of the characters, and so you experience what they do. Now, there's still ways to fuck that up as far as I'm concerned, but having these little clues as to the creatures in the world of the Descent, and they're all desperate. They're hearing noises, they're moving around. We've been changing perspectives a lot in that film, so that's just normal. And then to have it be that one of them, because these creatures are blind, they don't know exactly what's going on at all times. And so the idea that everyone's panicking, looking around, and one of them has gotten so close, it's right behind one of them, and they scan over to it. We've never seen it before. And that was just perfect because that is I think when I first ever watched the film, that made me jump out of my fucking seat, but I was not annoyed because that's the experience of the scene, that's the experience of the characters, and there's a lot of reason for why this happened this way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not to say like I don't hate every form of like the director's direct communication with an audience member to make them feel particular things. It's simply that jump scare took a lot of work and setup, but most jump scares don't. Most jump scares are very like, oh, we'll toss that in to make sure everyone's awake,
Yeah.
which sucks.
I remember like towards the end of like The Haunting of Hill House, like they just went nuts with the jump scares, like randomly for no reason, like two characters driving in a car and like a ghost will just appear between the seats and scream for a second or so and then vanish.
Wow. You need to watch our analysis on Hill House, the EFEP one. That's like one of the more meaningful jump scares. What's happening there is that Nell is having trouble communicating beyond the grave, right? She's doing her best, but she keeps coming through in like pieces. And the way that it seems to work mechanically in the world of Hill House is the more emotional power you draw from, the more control you can have. And so they're arguing about which one should hate the other more instead of, I think, right there, aren't they driving toward Luke to save him because he's
Yes.
rat poisoned himself? And so what's happening there is Nell is watching them basically bicker over which one has wronged the other more, and so she fucking yells at them to make them stop. Like that's like her frustration coming out. Because, do you remember?
I don't think I made that connection actually.
Because if you remember in episode 6, she can't communicate with them properly when she's dead. And so yeah, I take that as, and it freaks them both out, of course, because they both see it and hear it. But like that's her coming through and trying to get them to fucking stop, like because it's insane that they're attacking each other when this is going on. Now, to be fair, I famously do not like the ending of Haunting of Hill House, but I fucking love episodes 1 through 9. Like I think they're really good. Similar to my position on Midnight Mass, funnily enough.
Yeah. Oh god. It's funny, again, I happened to randomly watch a scene from that, and it was like the two characters sitting on the couch just giving a really long monologue with their thoughts on what happens when you die.
Yeah.
And it's just beautiful. It's some of the best dialogue for something like that I've ever heard. Just completely compelling, like beautiful choice of music for the whole scene, and super meaningful based on their perception of life, religion, atheism, you know, their own personal experiences and how the things that have shaped them. So well done. Like God, Flanagan just nails it when he gets scenes like that just right. It's glorious to watch.
Well, yeah, his meme is that he does a lot of monologues, but I quite like them. A lot of them. And
what's wrong with the monologue? If it's good and it's delivered by a good actor,
well,
just let it play out.
Some people would argue that they're forced, right? You're not going to find that from me. I mostly love a lot of, like, fucking, I loved all the House of Usher ones as well, from The Devil or from Roderick Usher or any of the characters, really. I always love a deep dive into their point of view that's, you know, caused by some traumatic event or an exploration of some idea. Because it's funny, the one you're bringing up, I really felt when watching it that, like, religious people would feel very satisfied with Midnight Mass compared to a lot of representation of religious characters in a lot of stuff.
I think so. It was a balanced show because it shows so many different perspectives on all this. Like, there's definitely critiques of religion and like the way people twist it to suit their needs and justify like all kinds of horrible behavior. But then, you know, it also gives the atheist perspective, and a kind of the final one is like this weird humanist one where we're all kind of like tied to the cosmos and stuff. So there's still a spiritual dimension to it, but it's not necessarily the Catholic view of it. And it's great. Like, it's none of them are portrayed as good or bad. They're just all perspectives on I guess, the biggest questions that we ever face in our lives. What happens when those lives are over? A great show. And the monster thing is really just like a backdrop to all of this. It's just there to facilitate what these characters are going through in their perspectives. So
I ended up not to spoil anything. This has become a recommendation for basically all of Mike Flanagan's horror shows, by the way, which I'm fine with. I was going to say it got brought up on, I think, was it Real BBC or Open Bar? But the credits in, I want to say, episode 6 or 5 of Midnight Mass. Do you remember what happens? Without spoiling anything.
It's you might have to refresh my memory.
Well, it's when two characters are on a boat.
Oh yes,
something happens, and
that is quite a scene, man.
Oh, it's the most brutal credits I've probably seen. Where it's just like, so the episode is over, but we're gonna let the audio continue. It's like, okay.
It's amazing that you can go from such a beautiful monologue and obviously what happens to his character, like his resolution to his character arc, and then just to cut in like this horrifying spectacle of gruesome death and screaming.
Yes,
just right there. It takes a bold director to do something like that, but they carried it off nicely. And I feel like enough time's passed. God, we can talk about it. You know, we're not going to spoil things for people.
It's just that we've done so much to recommend it. I'm sure there's at least one person listening to this is like, I'm going to watch that. And so, you know, if we can, I try to avoid spoilers. If we can.
Yeah. Cannon Falderall says, alive in 1995, back in the mix in 96. Cheers, Open Bar. Excellent. I appreciate you. Superfly says, Pokemon was released in 1996. Wow. I can't believe that didn't come up on my list of exciting things that had happened that year then. How did I miss Pokemon? I've not been doing my job right. James Moore says, that's because Sony hasn't reversed the region lock, so people can't play Helldivers 2. It will never get that high of players again. Is that true? They haven't reversed the region lock that they put on it?
I haven't kept up to date, I'm afraid.
Why are they doing everything to fucking torpedo one of the most successful games? It's insane.
I do not know.
Paulisemia says, only the other day I was down the Rotary Club and Gerald came up to me in a go-kart. Is that Gerald from Clarkson's Farm? Is that when we were talking about it? I got the episode where he came back to work, actually, because obviously he'd been sick that season. I just like how happy Jeremy was to see him again. It was so cool.
Yeah.
Joseph Perry says, just wanted to say that Critical Drinker and Mahler's commentary on Star Trek The Undiscovered Country was really exceptional and a little moving. Thank you. Do more. Thanks, man.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm very glad everyone would have enjoyed that. It was kind of a strange experience, wasn't it? 'Cause it happened over, I want to say, 7 months.
Yeah, because we kind of went at it quite infrequently. It wasn't like super urgent that we got through it, but it was just a nice, fun thing to do on occasion. Something a bit different.
It's filled in a gap for me.
Yeah.
And perhaps Drinker will have a gap filled in soon enough as well.
You can fill all my gaps, Mahler.
Oh my God.
Mekator says, there are documents from the time containing statements from other retainers on how Yosuke was little more than Nobunaga's glorified pet. His position was Kosho, a page, meaning he was an errand boy. Yep. Most legendary samurai of all time, though, apparently, according to Ubisoft. Thornside says, Gundam loved the Toriyama video, the soundtrack, the chef's kiss. Just sad that you didn't find Lucas Perez DBZ models. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed Gundam's video, so nice. I think had he not been making a model of one of his characters and like painting it and everything as tribute to that guy. Because like Toriyama is like the guy who created Dragon Ball Z, I think. So, yeah, like Gundam had been painting a model of one of the main characters, and like, you know, he's obviously a modeler that's got a lot of skill, and he can do like super detailed painting and stuff, and it looked awesome. I guess that was part of his tribute. Michael Sichi says, Drinker, you need to tell my Uncle Tony that he's retarded. He thinks Zendaya is a better actress and has better cans than Sydney Sweeney. Your uncle is retarded. But I don't know if she's a better actress than Zendaya.
I've got nothing for Sydney Sweeney's acting. I've seen her in is it just Madam Web, I think? Oh, she was in you'll never remember this probably, but she was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I do remember that actually. It was a super small role. She was just like
Yeah.
one of the Manson family. But
so was Austin Butler.
Oh, was he?
Yep.
Who was he?
He was the main one that got hit by the dog first.
Oh, right. Okay. God, that was a brutal death. Like,
I love that scene so much.
yeah.
I don't know what it is about Tarantino and violence. He does it in such a fucking satisfying way.
Yeah.
Watching like a totally high Brad Pitt like laughing as he just fucking annihilates all of these assholes. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
And then DiCaprio just flamethrower in someone.
That was one of the most genuine when she smashes through and he just goes, "What the fuck?"
And it's just great that his first thought is like, I gotta go into the shed and get my flamethrower.
Yeah.
I'll sort this out. That was a good movie. It's good fun. What was the next one? Blabs the Tower Tard says the arc of Stargriff matches the plot for the pilot of Smiling Friends. Mauler. Charlie is Theory, Pym is Ryan, and Mauler is Charlie, Theory is Pym, and Ryan is the client.
We just try to make Ryan smile.
Okay, maybe, yeah. I mean, I've seen a grand total of 1 episode of Smiling Friends now, and I need to watch more because it was good. Metal Face Rosie says Wu-Tang Clan are honorary Asians. Of course they are, yeah. They're authentic. Dr. Diddler says we have moved beyond Doctor Who. We must now ask ourselves, Doctor Why? That's the big question.
Yeah.
Josh Kelsey gave us $10. Thank you. Piston says Drinker, Az, and Gary broke their promise to finish their top 5 Doctor Who stream. Can you do a top 5 stream to bring some positivity back into the world? Well, I don't feel like I should be doing their jobs for them, you know? You're supposed to cajole them on with this.
I tried. The audience voted against it. I was pushing for it. When I saw that result, I was like, oh, geez. You know what? I thought I was speaking for the audience, but now I realize it was just a loud minority, I suppose.
The problem for me is, like, I am a complete normie when it comes to Doctor Who, and I just wouldn't have that depth of knowledge to be able to pick out 5 really good episodes.
Fine, we'll do Farscape. Ugh,
That's
guy.
better. Yeah, now we're talking. Richard Robin says, how do you guys manage to subjugate yourselves in toilet soil that they keep spitting out? I only say stay in the loop of things because your videos are more fun than the garbage. Anyway, stay horny, everyone. I mean, we're doing our best on that front, but it's kind of our job, I suppose, to review things, so that makes it easier.
It's a legitimate collection of reasoning. Like, there's a lot I would not be seeing unless the respective shows I'm on require it. I'm not even kidding. Like, there's so many fucking movies and shows that I'd have. I to an extent, I think if I weren't talking about it online and I had no friends, this is a stupid hypothetical. If I had no friends to talk to, but
I lived in a fucking basement or something.
I was going to say, like, would I be watching, take for example, Ahsoka, or I probably would have watched the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. I wonder how far I would have gotten with no interest in like reviewing or discussing it, though. Probably like 3 episodes would be maximum. Then I'd be like, I can't fucking do this. This is just horrible.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that kind of dynamic, right? I've said before, and I'll say again, a lot of new releases. When I find out like Gary, Drinker, etc., a bunch of people are going to go see it, I'm like, I'll wait for what they say instead of, you know, carving out some time. But then someone might say, yeah, well, we're talking about it next week, so if you could just spare the 2 hours. I'm like, oh.
Or in my case, I might contact you on the day and be like, hey, so we're going to cover this movie. Can you go see it right now?
That was I decided I'd do Ghostbusters, and then we didn't really talk about it that much. I was like, very well.
I'm so sorry.
It's all right. They're never making another one now. It's dead and gone.
Das Pooch says Doctor Who ended with Matt Smith's finale. They built it up as his final resting place anyway, and even Capaldi's era was woke. R.I.P. Doctor Who. I think Capaldi did have some good episodes. I think, especially in his first season, but it was a gradual decline into shittiness. What's this one? Yeah, question mark says Az and Gundam together makes anything funny. Awesome work on the Toriyama tribute Gundam. People were loving that. Nice. Marky Mark says, if one were real and you could be the one to find actual proof of either, would it be the Loch Ness Monster or Bigfoot? Which one would you go for?
Like, what would I prefer turned out to be true?
Yeah, and that you discovered it.
Probably Loch Ness. It seems cooler to me.
Yeah, I mean, as a Scottish patriot, I'd have to pick the Loch Ness Monster, but I feel like Bigfoot would probably get you more attention.
Would it? If the Loch Ness Monster was
Americans
real,
fucking love Bigfoot for some reason.
That's true. But like, I wonder how fast. I wonder how we'd rationalize it. What is it most likely to end up being? And it's like, I don't know, some missing link that was immortal or something.
Or dinosaurs. Yeah.
Well, the dinosaur one, I feel like is not. Which do you think would attract more people to come and see it? Bigfoot in a zoo or a potential dinosaur? You know.
Yeah. See, it would
I
be
get
an
it.
authentic dinosaur from dinosaur times. It would be like a modern
it's a dino
descendant.
man.
Yeah, I think Bigfoot would probably get you. Because, yeah, I mean, people have been going nuts over that for like decades and decades. So I feel like Bigfoot would probably be the bigger draw.
I have a feeling if he were real and he was in a place and we went to go and see it, we would probably turn up and be like, here we go. And we see him, and he's like eating a banana or something. We're like,
yeah,
well, there he is.
It's like if you go to the zoo and you see the pandas and like they're just dead essentially. Like they never move. It's like, well, you might as well just show me a stuffed toy of a panda because it's the same amount of like interactivity.
But I don't know. I feel like the Loch Ness Monster, if they had him in like a pen that was huge, and then cameras that allow you to see him swimming around and stuff, I don't know. I feel like it'd be cooler.
It could work. It would all come down to like whether it does cool things. Like, you know, you could put a cow in with it or something, and it would just like eat it. Something, or it can jump right out of the water and like, you know, create a massive splash or something like that. It's got to be able to wow the crowds, I think. Let's see. Andrew McCarthy says, for your next Drinker's Watch, go see the Donner cut, the 3-hour cut of Superman 78 and the Batman films. I mean, that's all good choices, I would say. The Donner cut is meant to be great. Carlos Rue says, Lower Revelations made me scrap the script for my first One Piece video. Should I rework it or move on to the next deep dive of clues hidden in the manga?
Well, I guess it depends on how much work you put in, right?
Yeah.
Though that's a tough question. I feel like you're the only person who can answer that question. Person who makes it, you know.
I mean, like, how many revelations could there be that it would totally, like, you know, invalidate your script? Surely it can't be that bad.
And then, of course, like if you've been working on it for a month, I'd be like, might want to, you know, make use of it.
Yeah. Kirk Chavez says, modern actors are cast to play themselves. They can't actually act. It's impossible for them to imagine worldviews different from their own. I mean, we definitely have actors who can act still. I think the difference is, though, yeah, they definitely live in a bubble in Hollywood, and they find it very hard to identify with anything outside that. Although I don't know if we're talking about, like, Britain here and Doctor Who and stuff. I'm not sure what the context was at the time, but yeah. There's definitely a problem with being out of touch with the average person. Excuse me. The unassuming David says, do you have a favorite film trailer of all time? The trailer for Return of the King gives me chills every time I rewatch it. So, favorite trailers.
That's a oh god. I'm gonna say I really remembered liking. I was hype as fuck for the Age of Ultron like film because. I thought that the way they built everything, that was going to be a really great villain for them to have to deal with. And
the trailer was dark as well. I remember that one.
I thought it was going to be a dark film. I thought it was, and like, to be fair, the first, I want to say like 20 minutes of that film, it's like, oh, this could be really good. Because they start out kind of cocky. And do you remember Tony gets a vision of the future where everyone's dead?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, all right. And then And then they, like, as far as I'm aware, studio mandated Ultron to be much more of a goofy clown man, which is such a disappointment because James Spader was perfect for. Remember the speech he gives them at the beginning in Stark Tower, where he's the broken robot and he talks about how
Mm-hmm.
they're all killers. It's just like, oh, that shit's so good, and it feels like it's part of a script that it doesn't belong to at the end. Because do you remember the amount of stupid jokes he makes?
Yep, and it was
God.
awful. Every one of them was so grating and just so out of step with what he looks like and what he is.
Ugh, yeah. Well, so yeah, I like the trailer for that, but the one I was going to mention, and I feel bad about mentioning it, but I can't deny it. I watched that trailer like fucking 100 times when it was coming out. It was Prometheus. This, I was so sure that film was going to be so good, and
Yeah,
like it's so funny because of where we're at now. But back then, I was like, finally, it's been decades of shitty alien content. Like, finally.
little did we know. It's funny when you mentioned Prometheus because mine would have been the original Alien trailer. That shit was
Yeah, it's
amazing.
good.
Like it's like so much of like Ripley running down corridors and just like alarms blaring and shit. Like you've got no idea what's going on. It really ramps up the horror and the terror aspect of it. Loved it.
It's so
Still a
funny
really good trailer.
to look back on because you get the flashes of the space jockey in the Prometheus trailer. I remember fucking forums going absolutely insane over that. It was like, holy, because you know how it goes, right? It's like, oh, the potential is huge, and then we get it, and then we're like, I don't know what I expected, but I didn't want that. Like,
Yep.
it's should have left it alone. Which, by the way, I'm pretty sure is like a line in the trailer. We shouldn't have come here. It's like we really shouldn't have.
Take your own advice, I suppose. Yeah, I always fall into the camp of it's probably better to maintain the mystery than to try and answer all these questions because the answers are just never going to be as satisfying as
Do
people's
you think?
imagination.
Is there ever a time that you can think of where they've answered the questions and you were like, "Holy shit, that was amazing"?
um,
Obviously, excluding the prequels. I know you love them.
yeah, it's probably happened. I just think I might need a bit more time to like come up with them. They'll be buried there somewhere deeply.
It's probably happened, yeah. But I am inclined to agree with you. Typically speaking, if you've got a successful thing and then you're like, "We're going to explain more of it by telling you how it was born" or something, you'd be like, "Okay."
I mean,
We
like
know.
Furiosa is a good example of that, right? Like when we meet her in Fury Road, she's missing an arm. She's got like this mechanical robot thing. It's cool. It's just an interesting character quirk that's she's been through some shit in the past. Do you want to actually know how she loses that arm? Like would that make you like her character more? Or is that just like robbing her of some of her mystique? Because this
On
movie
one
shows
hand,
it and it's like it's not that good.
I completely agree with you. On the other, I suppose the draw, nobody would be saying like, "You get to find out how she loses." You'd hope that wouldn't be it. You'd be like, "You get to find out what turned her from your average human being into a woman that you see in that film, and that her losing her arm is just one of the elements of what happens along the way."
Hmm.
Because like you remember the Solo, how embarrassing all of the fucking origin shit was in that.
Yeah.
It's like that's the filmmaker where I feel like he's like, don't you want to know how he got his iconic gun, his iconic name, his iconic ship? You're like, no, I want you to tell
Yeah.
me a story that's meaningful about this person that benefits me when I watch them in the future stuff. That's like the fucking point. But it's so easy to be like, you're gonna see, you're gonna see Anakin kill children, and then he's gonna become in the suit. And you're gonna Obi-Wan's gonna burn him. Not to say there isn't value in the prequels. I'm just saying that it's applicable to like almost all prequels where they can get lost.
Yeah. What's the next one? Last Line Tamer says the tragedy is that Russell T Davis actually knows how to write likable LGBT characters. Anyone remember Captain Jack Harkness? Good times. Yeah, I mean he can do it. You wouldn't know
Jack
now.
was a charismatic motherfucker who practically played his chances with almost everybody. It's just that he was entertaining, and that's what got you through a lot of it. Like in terms of just like stories, you don't. This is the thing we said over and over again. Don't give a fuck who you're fucking. Just want to know that you're a worthwhile, entertaining character to have along for the ride.
Imagine that, eh? Enterprise the Grey Ghost says, don't be biased towards one side. Reduce both to nothing more than radioactive glass. Sure, good strategy for life, I would say. Travis says, with Mauler now watching Star Trek, can we get two of you to do watch-throughs of the greats together, like City on the Edge of Forever, or at least a weekly recap of his favorites? I quite enjoy the Star Trek appreciation from Mauler.
We did. I think you read that out on the stream. What we could do is once I'm through TOS, I could pick maybe a selection of like 6, and we could do two our little sessions for 3-3.
Well, it's your choice. You get to pick the next thing that we do, so I'm up for whatever. Cowboy Commando says, Drinker, have you had a chance to check out Outland featuring Sean Connery as a federal space marshal on a corrupt lunar mining outpost? I've seen it. It's been a good long while since I last saw it, but yeah, I remember it being quite fun, actually. Yeah, I think it was fairly grounded, like technology-wise and stuff. Like, it was a sci-fi concept, obviously, but it's basically just a cop show, but in space. Connery was good, as he always is. They did that whole thing when people get put out in airlock and just kind of explode rather than, just freezing or whatever. But yeah, it was okay. Jay Smart says, I've heard of blaxploitation in media, but this is ridiculous. Now I want to just play so that I can blast 80s funk at the same time. Well, go for it. No one is stopping you. Nicolex Official says, going to embark on my own content journey soon, but I'm Simple Jack and don't know how I'll even start this endeavor. Using my last $20 because I love you guys. Also, I can outdrink you, drinker. Well, that's a bold claim, son. But as for starting out your own content creating journey, yeah, at some point you just have to throw yourself into it and start to get a feel for what you like and how you like to do it, what your tone's going to be, what your style's going to be of presenting, and yeah, find the thing that works for you. If Batman had a parrot, the Goonies, but they're all black or Latin lesbians, and the deformed guy is just Az, and the main star is the girl from New Romeo and Juliet. I can see it working. Sure. What's the next one? Danny Boy says, Gundam, you've only known smart ones because the dumb ones are plucking rice in the paddy fields. Oof. Brutal. Timmy says, Mauler, it was great hearing you guys answer all the super chats for EFAP 257, The Marvels, a second time. Love you guys. Did
I
you
made
go over your own work?
My collection of, because I keep them all filed and formatted, but and I've already assumed the problem was that as we do them, I delete them once we're done, and if I forget to hit Control S after deleting, then if for whatever reason my computer freezes or whatever turns off, then that might not get saved, and then I don't necessarily check every one that we've done before doing one. I just assume that whatever I've got left in the list is ones we haven't done, and so I've actually repeated us on 2 of them now, which is pretty funny, but it shouldn't happen again. It's just that it's because people were like, did he upload the same video? It's like, no, they just answered a whole 2 hours of super chats twice. So
I was going to ask, like, how long did it take you to realize, like, oh, we've done these questions already?
No, it's long enough ago that we just didn't recognize that we'd done them before.
No, that's fair. Jay Smart says, but Black Dynamite, I'm a Shogun warlord. God, I need to watch that movie again. It was great. Marine Lad says, 2 things, settle this. List top or rank all the Tomb Raider games. And 2, when your movie releases, any views or any venues in Australia. So, I mean, you should be able to watch it through my channel for a start, so you won't need to get it like from an actual venue. It's not going to get a theatrical release or anything. It's not that kind of movie. And rank the Tomb Raider games. Okay. It's probably going to go in a descending order, if I'm totally honest with you. I think the first game was actually my favorite out of all of them. Then 2, it ramped up the action, and it was more focused on actual real locations rather than tombs, which was pretty unfortunate. But then 3 just went a bit batshit crazy with like the difficulty levels of the puzzles and the lack of intuition to them. And then what would it have been that? Last Revelation didn't really get so much into that, so I don't know if that was great or not. I think I played the first few levels and just kind of lost interest. And then Chronicles I'd moved away from Tomb Raider by that point, and then kind of got back into it when they did the sort of anniversary edition, and then went from there with the new rebooted Tomb Raider games. I don't know, Mo, if you've even like had any experience with Tomb Raiders.
I believe I would have played the first one briefly at some point. I have vague memories of the controls and trapping the butler in the fridge, but that was about it. So I got nothing for you on Tomb Raider, I'm afraid.
That's okay.
Outside of the not Mila Jovovich, the Jolie Vova Angelina Jolie movies, I've seen both of those.
Jolie Vova. Okay. Sure. It is getting late here. Polymath Cat says, GTA, give it another couple of months and we'll see Saints Row shenanigans. Yeah, that game's got a lot of expectations to live up to. Shan Wikram Singh says, there wasn't a nanny rounding up kids in the background of that TV interview. That was his wife. Ah, okay. Yeah, that was a good clip that Gundam showed us, actually. Maximilian says, have you seen the one of the woman getting slapped by the fish? Haven't seen that one. Oh, wait, no, I have actually. Yeah, it's like a TV reporter giving an interview during a storm, like right at the seafront. So she's going to get waves crashing over the walls near her. And like one of them just like hits her full on and there's a fucking fish in it. It's great. Hits her right in the face.
You make me. I thought they were referencing like the fish slapping dance from Monty Python.
No, this was nature being beautiful. Dr. Diddler says, have you seen the news report on a whale that they're going to blow up from 1970? It's hysterical. Look up exploding whale. It's on this site. Yeah, I've seen that one as well. Are you familiar with that one at all?
I think I am. That sounds familiar, but it's been a while.
Yeah, it's like a beached whale in America somewhere, and like they were pondering what to do with it because it's massive, and it's like we can't just leave it on the beach because it'll decay and stink the place up. We can't tow it out to sea because it's too heavy. So they came up with the bright idea of just putting a shit ton of dynamite in it and blowing it up into little small pieces. Unfortunately, like they miscalculated the amount of dynamite and like gigantic chunks of whale just started raining down on the local town. And yeah, it caused like huge amounts of damage, destroyed cars and things. So not the best move ever. Thrillhouse says, do you prefer watching a tree grow or a knee grow? I see what you were trying to do there. But knee meaning the body part, obviously. Yeah, I'm going to go with trees because they're beautiful to look at. Tim Jepson says, Drinker, can you review Shadow in the Clouds? Why do I feel like I've seen that one?
I'm not familiar.
Is it the one set in a World War II bomber?
Oh, I know about
sure it's got Hit Girl from Kick-Ass. Yeah, Shadow in the Cloud. Yeah, I've seen that one. It's got quite a neat premise initially, like super claustrophobic. She's locked in like the little turret on the underside of the plane. So it's really constrained and it's like her getting attacked by this fucking gremlin thing. But by the end, it just becomes like full on, I don't know, I'm in the most retarded Marvel movie of all time watching it. Yeah.
It is funny on the Wikipedia page because I'd completely forgot what this film was about. So I was already like laughing and then you said it as well. But it's just like, following a female flight officer on a top secret mission in the Pacific during the Second World War, who after boarding a Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress, and up to that point, you're like, okay, all right, yeah, this sounds like a war movie, blah blah. This encounters an evil gremlin. You're like,
yep.
Wait, I'm sorry, what? Like, what?
It is, yeah. Like when it first happens, the movie plays with the premise quite interestingly. Because no one can see it from, like, she's the only one who can see it from her perspective because she's effectively on the underside of the plane. And nobody believes her. Like, she's trying to radio them and warn them and stuff.
That's got to be based on some other story then, right? Because, like, Simpsons have an episode that's just like that. That's got to be based on some core. Is there, like, an original story where someone has to deal with a gremlin destroying everything?
Yeah, it's like it's a Twilight Zone episode with the great William Shatner called Terror at 20,000 Feet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's actually quite effective. But yeah, he's like a guy who's afraid of flying. He's up on a commercial airliner, and yeah, looks out the window during a storm, sees a fucking gremlin on the wing, and like whenever he tries to get someone else to take a look, like it's moved or it's gone somewhere else, so no one else can see it. And you're sort of left wondering throughout a lot of the episode, well, is he just insane or something? Like, is he imagining it? And turns out he's not. So
interesting. I almost want to
yes,
watch that now.
it's quite an iconic episode. And yeah, like Shatner goes into full-on Shatner mode. You know, like, my God, there's something on the wing. You know,
Is he like, damn it, man, listen to me. There's a gremlin on the side of the plane.
There's one point where it's really funny, like, because it's like those old planes that have got like little curtains that cover the windows, and like he pulls them apart, and its face is fucking pressed right up against the glass, and it's like the goofiest looking, mask thing.
I'm
But
guessing
it's
it's
just
supposed
like,
to be scary, right? But
yeah, I'm sure back in the '60s it would have been terrifying. Kick the Ladder gave us a super sticker, so thank you. Liquid Metal Rob says best news fails has to include I hate Iceland. Oh, is that another one?
oh,
I need
there's
to
so
see that.
many. It's just so many
Yeah.
fails. I'm glad they're all captured forever on YouTube.
I know. Mr. Potato said instead of Mad Max, it's Cam Maximus. Seems like it, yeah. Jonathan Sherwood, thoughts on Band of Brothers? Superb. One of the best war, I was going to say movies, but like TV shows, but yeah.
Long movie.
One of the best long war movies ever made. Nicolex Official says, taking my cat to the vet tomorrow. Hope for good news. Good. Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed for you, man. I hope you got good news back from them. Uncle Cheapskate says, Drinker, I loved your falling down video. That movie reminds me of a Don Quixote quote. Too much sanity may be madness, and maddest of all, to see life as it is and not as it should be. Whoa, that's a deep one. I like it. Maximilian says, from what I get, apart from a few scenes, it's a sleeper movie. I think that might be Furiosa. Yeah, it probably was they were talking about. Lance says, no Mel Gibson, no Mad Max movie. Yeah, just give the people what they want. An old as fuck Mad Max going on one last ride. I think everyone would be happy with that.
Yeah. I think it'd be really cool. And I think he's allowed now. He's in movies, right? You can get him in.
He's out of movie jail now, I think.
I think so.
Depot says, echoing the same point, actually, I want an old Man Max movie. It would go supernova. I think so. Irish Trash says, Beetlejuice. Will he appear?
You know what's funny? Did you see the trailer for the new one?
Not yet, no. Is it looking any good?
I mean, you can have as much hope as you're going to have with any, not remake, requel, whatever the fuck they call it these days, when it's clearly going to do the thing again, but this time it's different slightly. But the main thing is I want to see Michael Keaton come back and have fun. That's like honestly the main reason I'd want to see that film. I don't know if the story's going to be any good. Jenna Ortega's in it. Tim Burton's directing. That's the best we can hope for, I guess, considering the original. But Tim Burton is not the same man he was when he was making films like that.
No, he's become Ridley Scotted.
What's funny though is like there was a point where Jenna Ortega is obviously the new girl who isn't feeling that life is fun, which is going to cause like a potential for Beetlejuice. There's a part in the trailer where she says the word Beetlejuice, and then I think it's Winona Ryder is like, "Don't say that word," and then she goes Beetlejuice. So then she's like, "No, seriously, if you say that 3 times, it'll summon him." And you're like, "Oh, is that going to be how he's summoned?" And I was just thinking to myself, like, I probably would say that word 3 times if someone told me it summons a trickster demon that tries to destroy your life. I'd be like, "You sure?"
I'm feeling lucky today.
My bet would be that she says it the 3rd time, and then music swells, and then nothing happens, and then he arrives later, something like that.
Yeah, probably they'll fake out or something.
But he has a few lines in the trailer, and he hasn't skipped a beat, which is wonderful. We should take advantage of Michael Keaton for as long as we can.
I know he's somehow not aged in that way. Like he's still pretty sprightly and just he's got loads of energy to him when he needs it. It's good stuff. I like to see him back doing things.
The Nice Guys, no, not Nice Guys, the other guys. You see that?
Yeah, back in the day.
He has like fucking 10 minutes in that movie, and he's hilarious in them.
Have you seen The Founder?
Yes, he's very good in that as well.
Yeah,
he's good in everything. He might be an actor that, it's a bit morbid, but when he dies, that we'll all be like, he was actually one of the best actors ever.
Yeah, I think so. Luffy the Sun God says, "Oh, how you have fallen, Doctor Who, from Vincent and the Doctor, A Good Man Goes to War, and A Christmas Carol to Rosa Parks and baby-eating booger monsters. We really need a reset in the West." I think so. Just retire that fucking
Just
show.
stop. Yeah, just stop.
Michael Brokey, Drinker, do you have any plans to come to Australia? We'd love to shout out a whiskey if you do. Hail to all. I mean, I'd like to. I'm sure I will come to Australia at some point in my life. It's quite a long journey to get there. So it would kind of need to be for a long time, like a proper 2 or 3 week holiday out there. William Wiley, any thoughts on the new Beetlejuice trailer released today by Warner Brothers? Well, there you go. Muller's
Wow.
giving his thoughts on it.
There you go. Nailed it.
Premonition, yeah. Mad Hat Studios says, I'm a composer in Hollywood, and those strikes last year have made it almost impossible to land a new show. They just aren't making anything now. Yeah, sounds depressing, man. I'm sorry. Some Norwegian guy, we need a Texan Floridian Hollywood. Yeah, I don't know. Like the field is wide open these days for like new studios to come in and like outside the system, because if you can do it on budget, you can absolutely clear up. So much of the problems in Hollywood is their movies are so fucking expensive they can just never break even now. Horrible says, I like the notion that Mad Max is a mythical figure passed from generation to generation. The feral kid in Mad Max 2 has the wind-up toy and becomes Tom Hardy Mad Max in Fury Road. Max legend to be told, though.
Sure, like you could make that work. It feels weird, right? Because Mad Max, I feel like we haven't figured out exactly what everyone sees or wants in it, and we've still got because I remember Fury Road kind of being confusing in terms of continuity of exactly what the fuck is even going on. I don't think it was ever really figured out, was it? Like, is there official word on exactly how it fits in?
I'm sure they talked about Furiosa being set 45 years after the collapse of civilization, which I'm like, well, that clearly doesn't work because Max was still around when civilization existed. Like the very first Mad Max movie, like there was still, it wasn't fully functional, but there was definitely a civilization. There was organization to things. It's only when you get to Mad Max 2 that like it's just carnage.
Was there any need to do that though? Like when you want to leave it vague somewhat, just in case? Because like, what benefit is there to say it was 45 years post the events or whatever?
Well, exactly, yeah. And no idea where this is meant to fit into the timeline of the rest of the movies. So, just make it up as they go. Albert Nada Retro says they cast Gosling as Colt Seavers, so nobody involved with making the movie saw the Fall Guy. He's an emasculated hack whose nads are in Eva's purse. Ooh, harsh. Danny Boy says, Drinker, you suave piece of man flesh. Have you seen Red Letter Media's movie Space Cop? It's terrible but fun. Papa Gundam give little baby a Colossus roar from the X-Men arcade game. Where are my NY bros, bro? Wow. I've only seen bits and pieces of Space Cop because I feel like it was a bit of a difficult one to get through.
I watched it when it came out. I was disappointed, but that's okay.
Yeah. I don't think they're super enthusiastic about doing more things like that. From what I understand, I feel like they maybe expected it to turn out better than it did, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Why you hating says, is Furiosa at least better than the Disney garbage? Yeah, it's way better. So at least I can answer those questions now since I've seen it. Yeah, it's a decent enough movie. It's not as good as Fury Road, but it's probably worth a watch. There's nothing too bad there. Igor Slagathor says, have you all seen the new 40k Space Marine 2 trailer that just came out today? If not, please watch it now. I'd love to see your live reactions. Okay, so I can't really bring it up now and watch it on stream, mainly because these trailers are like usually copyrighted, but I will take a look. I'd be curious to see what it's like. Trevor Wingard says, Hail Drinker and Muller, how aware are you of your real life friends and families? Okay, I think what they're asking is like, our real life friends and families, how aware are they of our YouTube careers, and do any of them watch our stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it's different for any and all of them in terms of awareness and whether or not they watch. It's, for me, I don't know about you, it comes across as a very strange and hard to understand thing to most people in my family. They're like, it's weird that you do that. I had the thing that a lot of YouTubers have where I was at a wedding and an uncle, a more distant one, was just like, so you you talk about movies and that's your job. And I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, okay, how does that work? And I was like, I talk about them. I don't know what else I can say, really.
Yeah. I think they get it. Like the people in my family like understand that YouTube is quite a big thing. Like if you're successful at it, and they get that I do this for a living, so they're kind of cool with that. My friends just take the piss out of me, so that's exactly how I would want it. you know, yeah, they just find it quite amusing. But like, also, like if I get an opportunity to say interview someone or go out to a convention or whatever, they're like, yeah, that's quite cool. Actually, that's pretty decent. Like they were quite
That's
impressed when I got to talk to Russell Crowe. So that was
that I feel like is the language that a lot of people can understand. When you're like, oh, fucking however many thousands or millions of people watching me, they're like, what? That's like hard to comprehend. But when you say I spoke to Russell Crowe, they're like, oh, cool.
yeah, it's like tangible things then. Jay Fraser says, "Hail gents, which unmade Star Trek episode or film do you wish was made? Have you read about the plans for Star Trek Phase 2 and the God thing?" So, don't know much about the God thing, but I know Phase 2 was kind of an interesting concept. That was going to be like the next generation of its day, which eventually got morphed into the motion picture because Star Wars was such a success. They wanted to capitalize it and get a theatrical release out. But yeah, they had all kinds of interesting ideas for Phase 2, like different. They had a replacement for Spock, I think, different Vulcan characters, completely redesigned Enterprise, and so on. So that would have been quite cool to see. But if we hadn't got the motion picture, then we wouldn't have gotten all the other pretty cool movies. So ultimately, I'm glad that we went down the path we did. I think. Mauler, have you seen Meet Joe Black? It stars Anthony Hopkins and Brad Pitt as the personification of death. Also, EFAP movies Hannibal Lecter arc, possibly.
I don't know if Silence of the Lambs is going to work very well for EFAP movies, and Hannibal and Red Dragon. Hannibal could turn into just us making fun of it because that movie's got so many problems, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And then Red Dragon, I like. I just don't know that it would work too well. But Silence of the Lambs is amazing. You don't need anyone to tell you that. As for Meet Joe Black, I'm aware of it. I never watched it. I haven't had like it's never been a time where I've been like, oh, it's time to watch that. I guess. People don't talk about it either.
Yeah, much the same. Like everyone's seen the meme of like Brad Pitt getting run over in it, and like that's probably been my exposure to it. Really. Silent Evil says, one thing I think is very underrated about the original Mortal Kombat is its music. I don't just mean the techno OST, but the actual score by George Clinton. If used in trailers to promote other movies, you know it's got to be good. That's true, yeah. There was something pretty decent about Mortal Kombat's music. Kashakus says, all restaurants will soon be Taco Bell, just like in Demolition Man. John Smith says, have you ever gotten autographs or photo ops with celebs at cons? Who would you be willing to pay for? Yeah, I mean, I've been quite lucky, I suppose. When you know some of the bookers for these events, they then know the people who manage like the actors and stuff when they're doing their signings, so they can often sneak you in during quiet spells. You get to meet them and chat to them and get an autograph. So I got my picture with William Shatner, which was really cool. Didn't get much chance to speak to him because they were just moving people through super quick. Hayden Christensen, I got to chat with him for like 5 minutes. He was super nice, like really just gracious and like accommodating with his time and stuff. And he'd obviously been at that all day, like signing autographs, but he was still willing to make a few minutes just to chat with me. So again, yeah, really impressed with him. He was a nice guy.
I don't have anything like that. Your story, but I've told this before. But it was just insane luck of. I went to Cardiff Comic Con because Anthony Stewart Head was there, being Giles, of course, from Buffy. The queue for him was enormous, and we joined it not very early, so it looked like it's gonna be really difficult. A lot of waiting to be done, and I think they broke for lunch, or it was close to the end of the day. I can't remember anymore. It was so long ago, but. Point being is that they told everyone at the front with an announcement, and then there was a guy who started really far at the back telling people what was going on, and we just happened to be pretty much in the exact perfect position to not get this information. We were right in the middle, and so everyone just started leaving while we were talking, and we were just autopiloting walking forward, if you know what I mean, as people cleared. And we were like, wow, I guess it's going fast, whatever. And eventually everyone had gone and he was still there. And so was like whoever was like helping him out and stuff. And we were awkwardly standing there and there was literally fucking nobody left. We'd completely blanked on the fact that you were supposed to leave. And we looked over my sister, who was much more aggressive in these sort of situations, because I guess she was smarter, because I was a lot younger at this point, so she knew like this was a one chance sort of thing. And so she was just like, "Hi, can we see you?" Then the person with it was just like, "No, like he's supposed to not be here." And he was like, "Yeah, just do it, go." And I know I've told the story before, but I've probably told you before, but it's just one of my most cherished memories of embarrassment. But I had no question prepared, and I knew that when you're getting something signed, you may as well, right? It's just like the
Oh
opportunity.
yeah, you got like a bit of time to fill while they're doing it.
And I said, did you prefer doing Buffy or Merlin? Because those are the two shows he was promoting. And he was like, I really, really enjoyed them both. And I was like, okay. I was just like starstruck and frozen. Which I've explained to people before. It doesn't happen for everybody, but when you know, he was nothing but a character to me on a screen forever, you know? It's like he's just there, a person right in front of me, like perfectly normal. It's just like I don't know what to do. I'm stuck. But still, one of my favorite memories for meeting a celebrity, sort of thing.
That is a pretty cool story. I like that one actually. It's good that you made the time to at least do your autograph signing, and you skipped the queue. So hey, everyone's a winner.
Well, I want to stress, we would have fucking left. We just didn't know. Like we were like, where's everyone going?
Yeah. Proud Zionist says Avery Brooks is the only captain in Star Trek that has character development. Even his appearance changes halfway through. I mean, I would dispute that. Like, if you see Kirk from the original series versus Kirk in Undiscovered Country, he's a pretty different guy. And it's not just because he's older; he's changed as a person.
And I think it would be fair to say he's got a lot of weight on him in terms of experience, not just actual weight.
Although he does have that too.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Maximilian says it's been just over a year. What? It's been just over a year since it's crazy how a film, Captain Marvel, and a scene in Endgame completely ruined a normie like me off an entire franchise. I mean, Captain Marvel will do that to people, I suppose. John Smith says Final Destination movies, yay or nay?
Well, I like them a lot. They're pretty bad.
Yeah, but I think if you go into them with the right mindset and they're just like goofy fun, I think there's a lot of enjoyment to be had there.
I think when we watched them for EFAP movies, we tried to speculate on what does a great Final Destination movie look like, and it's kind of hard to imagine because you can either crank the serious or crank the goofy.
Yeah.
Personally, I probably want to crank the goofy, but I do like the idea of the challenge of trying to make a very serious, very scary sort of you live in a world that is trying to destroy you.
I think the joy just comes from like how stupid some of the deaths are, because they're so over the top and ridiculous. Like, I think that's the appeal for a lot of people.
Totally.
Albert Nada Retro says, stay with the booze, it won't take half your stuff. That is true, yeah. It just can sometimes take half your life. Harakumi says, have Mahler watched the 7th best Star Trek movie, Galaxy Quest. That is a good, fun film. I like it.
We should just do that for EFAP movies at some point, though.
Yeah, for sure. Apollyon says, Mahler, search long man commercial. I need to see your reaction to this masterpiece of a commercial.
I think I know what they're talking about. It's like the Japanese gum or something.
Right.
One sec. Yeah. I'm aware of it. I was shown this like in the first year of EFAP. It was funny shit. A lot of memes got made with it. But, it's just like really long gum, and the guy who has it is, I guess, called the Long Man, and it's a Long Man song. It's good stuff.
Very Japanese. The Jimlies says biannual request to do a review of The Man from Earth. Writer did contribute to some early 70s Trek. If that helps convince you all, appreciate your works. Keeps a man sane. Cheers. Cool. Well, we'll take it on board. The Man from Earth. John Smith says Troy and Kingdom of Heaven. Thoughts? Well, you can see our thoughts on EFAP movies because we did both of them.
Yeah, both of them are out. You can see what we thought while we were watching it and our conclusions. Well, you left before Kingdom of Heaven ended.
I couldn't take any more. So
That's an indication of how you felt.
The first 7 hours were enough for me, I think. M. Simon says, hello, first time super chat, long time viewer for all of you. Thank you for everything that you do and have a drink on me. Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thanks.
Jay Fraser, the reason for the 10-year gap between Mad Max films is that George Miller sued Warner Brothers regarding unpaid earnings from Mad Max Fury Road. Yes, I'd heard about that. Apparently as well, they were working on the script for Fury Road for 15 years, which it doesn't seem like 15 years that well spent because it's not a complicated script.
No, it does not feel like that at all. Damn.
I mean, I can see pre-production taking a long time just because it's pretty demanding special effects and stunts and stuff, but not 15 years. That's a bit much. Leprook says, thank you for everything you've done for geek culture, every one of you. Also, you all got me through some very depressing times in my life. Cheers. Thank you, mate. And I hope you're looking forward to better times ahead.
Yeah.
Navigate says, we're deliberately being fucked with Never Forget. I don't know. I mean, I think they would rather make lots of money out of us, but yeah, feels that way sometimes. Unfunny German says, please tell someone drinker that the 100 is 1 month. Yeah, it is now. It's 1 month away. Not long. Time does the 100th episode of Open Bar is less than a month away now.
I thought you meant like a movie. I was like, the 100 is like a third of the 300.
Yeah, the best of the best. Muttley in Love says, classical beauty. It begins and ends with Phoebe Cates. Who's Phoebe Cates?
Phoebe Cates. She's like the fish in Gremlins, right?
Oh, right. Yeah,
and
just the picture there.
Ridgemont High or whatever film. Yeah, Fast Times at Ridgemont High is one of her famous ones.
I mean, she was pretty enough when she was younger. I'm not sure I'd like put her up there with the best of the best or anything.
Damn.
Sorry, that was harsh. And Emissarial says, thanks for the entertainment, folks. I'll settle my tab. Appreciate that, man. Thank you very much for your generosity. And thank you to everyone, because that's the last of the super chats right there.
I see.
Yeah, hopefully we've been able to answer some of your questions there. We went off on some great tangents. Loved it. But anyway, the next time you see us will be at the next open bar as we edge closer to 100. But appreciate it, guys. That is all we've got for today. So go away now.
Bye.